judge if you're, you know, if what you did as your strategy worked or did not. I don't know exactly how you would do that, but I mean, for instance, if you're trying to get people to go to a march or a protest, nobody shows up. Maybe, maybe, but it all sort of depends. Okay, again, it's a lot of the stuff is already in chapter two, but the idea here is that you need to have a very sort of specific, but also sort of strategic goal. And remember, for all of these rhetorical packages, I do say that sometimes your message and maybe your goal might be similar, but I could change. I mean, you could have, for this, I want people to donate money to this particular thing. To this, I want people to, stop doing this or go to this thing. It's just completely up to you how you want to do this. You have options. And now the Techne, all this is Techne, but he has a big old list here of further rhetorical tactics. So the rhetorical strategy here. Again, it's one of the things that you really need to understand here. For those of you who might be new to rhetoric, it is an art. It's not a science. I mean, there are some social scientific aspects of communication, but it's not like, okay, you do this and this will happen, or you tell me exactly what to do. It all sort of depends. You just have to think strategically, like what is the best stuff to put together, to try to encourage people to do this and not that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But here's some things to think about. Well, overall, there's things about argumentation, having good evidence and everything like that. A lot of stuff about storytelling. That's why I think your YouTube speech should tell some stories. Here's a problem. Let me tell you about this. This prison. Let me tell you whatever. Invention is this idea of sort of inviting you can read some of that stuff, but it's basically against the idea of persuasion, as persuasion is problematic, but I don't think it is. But inviting people to sort of see your point of view, which, how's that different from persuasion? But okay, so you did. But here's some stuff. So you can provide this is the big list that is in addition to, some of it might be repeating stuff in chapter 2 of our book. Provide straightforward logical arguments. It's a possibility. Tell emotional stories. Use scientific facts to prove your point. Show personal video footage of actual events. Juxtapose shocking images. Recite poetry. Mary had a little lamb. Her fleece was white as snow. Frosty the Snowman was a fairy tale. Mother Goose. Use thought-provoking analogies and metaphors. Government reports. Highlight hypocrisies or biases or inconsistencies and what other people might have to say. Use language that evokes community, togetherness, collective sensibility. Love that. Draw upon collective identities like class, race, sexuality, gender, and religion. Connect ideas, or what you think are radical ideas, to traditionally accepted ideas like free speech, equality, self-determination. People love equality. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Invite audience participation, maybe some role-playing. Role-playing with your YouTube speech and your letter. You're going to invite people to role-play. Yeah, body language stuff, body rhetoric. Repetition, communicate with passion or urgency, speak people's desires, give them, a good vision of a better world. So, all these, here, I'll just put it right here. Can you see that? You can pause that. These are just really simple ideas of things that you can do. How do you do it? It just depends on the situation and what you think is going to be the most effective. It's not a science. Okay. Oh, have I told you lately that I love Angela? Have I told you? I just called to say I love you. Is that right? Whatever. Okay. So there is some stuff in here about public speaking specifically. So again, your stuff with public speaking, the oral part is your YouTube speech, and so what Jason talks about here in this. Oh, did I skip situation? I might have skipped situation. What is the situation? It always impacts your choices, right? So what you decide to do for the YouTube speech is going to be different from what you decide to do for the body rhetoric or the social media or whatever. It all sort of depends. That's is the gist of all this type of stuff. So all this type of stuff when it comes to speaking means chapter 2, some basic stuff that Dogondio offers. So here is, where are you? Where did you go? Okay, he talks about the nature of language and all this type of stuff, and you can't even find this now, but okay. So basically, the idea here is that when it comes to the content of and anything, when it comes to your YouTube speech, any advocacy sort of process or avenue, you're thinking about the general canons of rhetoric, even as you are also thinking about the rhetorical package and the motivated sequence. The 5 canons of rhetoric are delivery, so you got to think about the voice, where you're going to be, and all that type of stuff, and your body language, how you look at the camera, can people see you, all this type of stuff. Invention, which is the specific message and that you're and goal and all that type of stuff. How you're going to organize things, organization. Whether you're going to memorize something or have it read, or you're going to be impromptu about it. The idea of style, that is the various words that you will use, the language that you will use. So things to think about. Again, the canons of rhetoric. Delivery, not necessarily in the order, delivery, invention, organization, memory, and style. So all these things to think about, and I'm not asking you to actually put that in your rhetorical package, but it's always sort of there in your mind. You might have an overarching thesis, which obviously is sort of your message. Organization, again, I've already talked about this. This is being redundant, but introduction, body, and conclusion, and I'm also sort of telling you to use the motivated sequence. Attention is going to be probably in the introduction. Action is going to be in the conclusion. Delivery. So again, and this is one of the reasons why before you do the speech, you probably want to record yourself and practice a few times. See what it sounds like, what you look like, and everything like that. Because even though it's on YouTube, you still want to think about volume. Are people going to be able to hear you? I know here you can turn it up, but still you need to think about that. Articulation. Are people going to be able to understand you? Your facial expressions. Are you going to look happy, sad, or whatever? Eye contact. I would look at the camera, because it means that people think that they're looking at you, but it depends on the situation and what you want to do. Upper body movement. Is the camera going to see all of you or part of you? And how do you want to do that? You want to do something sort of silly like I'm doing, which I'm sort of like do as I say, not as I do. But how do you want to look? Overall attitude, but also what are you going to wear, where are you going to be, and all this type of stuff. It's completely and utterly up to you. I agree, rehearsal is important, which is one of the reasons why you probably want to rehearse a couple of times, record yourself, watch yourself, maybe have somebody else watch it. Again, you can memorize it if you want to, or you can have somebody holding, cue cards or whatever you want to do. But usually, I think with YouTube, it seems pretty conversational. I've never seen somebody sort of look at note cards and do that on YouTube. If you want to have some sort of presentational stuff, usually this is a certain context. It's for online lecture, for online class, and sort of a YouTube speech is of inspiration, a little bit different, I think. Here with anxiety, generally speaking, obviously people get very, very nervous when they're speaking in front of other people, and maybe just recording where it's just you or maybe a couple other people might be different, but once it's out there, it's out there. So I understand that anxiety, just do it. So a lot of stuff, you should know if you've taken any sort of basic public speaking class. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just a repetition of things that I'm thinking that you might already know. Or maybe you don't, because I got to think about my audience. Okay. The writing. When we're thinking about writing, remember writing is indeed unique. Practical stuff, obviously, select your issue, find the hook, again, slogan, hook. It's always nice to have a little hook or slogan. What's different? Make sure when you're writing your letter that you write a rough draft. You have some sort of thesis. You proofread. All this basic stuff. And there's so many different things that you can do to improve your writing. The more you write, the better, obviously. I think Academic Skills Center is having some hours, but the more you do it, the better. And I would encourage you to think about different ways that you can improve your writing. There's lots of opportunities to do so when it comes to issues of grammar and all sorts of different things. But the main thing is you have to do it. You never get better unless you do it, and you never get better unless you have somebody else read it. The key to effective writing is revision. Write it over and over and over and over again until it's how you want it. I think that's very, very important. I'm just looking through this. Okay, so stop. Letter time. Hammer time. He's doing like commercials now for like a hammer, I think. I don't know, poor guy. Watch this. I can't touch that. Okay. So, hopefully some of this gave you some, I don't know if it's helpful or not. It's all extra stuff. The other thing that I'm going to put up on KC for you is sort of an example of a letter, sort of to the editor, but not really. Nothing like you would see in the free times or the state. But back in 1835, yeah, you can't see that. Angelina Grimke, who, by the way, is from South Carolina. She was basically kicked out of Charleston because of her abolitionist sentiments. She wrote a letter to William Lloyd Garrison. And now all this stuff is actually straight from the letter. Where the context is basically, so abolitionists were having some sort of protest, march or something like that, and they were attacked. And so basically Angelina Grimke wrote this letter, trying to encourage them to have courage in the face of this adversity, because we can't give up, right? In the face of, when we know things are right or things are wrong, we need to make them right. We've got to, we can't just give up. So I would ask you to read this for fun. It's not for a grade or anything like that, but just because it's good stuff, and look at what she does to try to encourage people to, go forward, do that. And is it savvy? Is it appropriate to the situation? Some of these words are studist. They wrote funny back then. But it's a good example of a letter of advocacy from 1835. Hopefully, we'll run it up in about 30 minutes. Hopefully this is somewhat helpful.